So this is the introduction. Now we come to one of the texts, which is very common in what is called as Kashmiri Shaivism. And this is the text we are going to discuss a little bit today. It is called Vijnana Bhairav. So Vijnana Bhairav is the name of this text, and we will not be able to go through the whole text, but I'll go through the introductory shlokas or sutras of this. The actual text has contemplations, and we did a couple of them, and hopefully, if we will try to. So Kashmiri Shaivism is a school by itself. It's a almost like a philosophical school by itself. And to go into the intricacy of Kashmiri Shaivism is not that much necessary for us from a Vedantic perspective, because it is like another means in another approach. However, it is the essence of that school is also a non-dualistic school. So there are three non-dualistic schools acknowledged especially in the Indian traditions. One, of course, is the Advaita Vedanta, which is considered the most developed because of Shankaracharya, and with a lot of means and ways to realize that ultimate truth. And then there is the Buddhisms, especially something such as Shunyavada and all that there in Buddhism. So they are also quite well developed. However, it is it is an earlier school which doesn't have that much developed philosophy as Advaita Vedanta. Of course, they will not say this. I think I'm saying it. So most Vedantins would say it. But yet at the same way, so they also have aspects of non-dualism. Buddhism itself doesn't have, they do have aspects of non-dualism. Then comes Kashmiri Shaivism. Kashmiri Shaivism is not that straightforward in non-dualism. Why? Because it is depicted as means there are three entities in Kashmiri Shaivism, which is one is called as Shiva. Shiva is the ultimate, supreme reality. So Shiva is called here as Bhairava. Bhairava, that name has such, is the one who is the supreme being or the supreme reality, and the only reality. Meaning there is, in a sense, there is a God Shiva and I am separate, so I have to attain that Shiva. Not that kind of a thing when we talk about Bhairava. That supreme reality is my essential nature. But in ignorance, what happens? There is Shiva and Shakti. Shakti is the energy form. So where is this energy? So in a normal dualistic sense of our other Indian philosophies, Shiva and Shakti are completely different and separate. Even in Sankhya we see this, Sankhya Yoga we see this. Purusha and Prakriti are different permanent entities. So they can independently exist also without each other. Of course, Prakriti needs Purusha for manifestation, but Prakriti in its Mula Prakriti form can stay by itself. Here it is not like that. That Shakti emerges from Shiva, has a means to bestow grace. But there is two aspects. Of course, here it is not, I'm just explaining some aspects for our convenience. There are two aspects of the Shakti. One is the outgoing Shakti. That is the force of what we call the Maya. And this makes what happens, this brings about lots of this naras meaning all jivas, all of us. So we are all like these individual beings who are stuck in this Shakti's manifestation. And now there is a Parashakti. There is that Shakti which also has the power to take us inward, pull us back and inward. So how does this happen? And for doing this is the practices and the grace of Shakti is required. So this is how the school divides this thing as Shiva and Shakti. So what happens when the Parashakti starts working for us? Like if we start the grace of Parashakti, what will happen? then we will merge back our essential nature into Shiva. The Bhairava will work, meaning we are no longer an egoic entity. We have realized our essential nature as one with that supreme truth. So this is a very nicely kind of taught, and a lot of practices are there. However, these practices are not something which we can just read and practice. Like, of course, there are shlokas which are available easily. So the ideally you have to practice with someone and you to go through the steps. And of course, as contemplations, we will also try and do some of them. The important thing with these practices is that they are all trying to get us out of this mind constructs. So there are three, I mean, of course, there are five vrittis according to our Yoga Sutras. Many of us know that. There is Pramana, Viparyaya. Anybody remembers? Pramana, Viparyaya, and then?
Anumana.
No, no, no. That is a different, that is a different pramanas. Vrittis.
Vikalpa
Vikalpa. Very good. Yeah. Then,
and Nidra,
yes. One more.
Viparya,
Viparya, correct. And there is smriti also. So there are five kinds of thoughts. There is pramana. Pramana is what we are mostly working with in Vedanta and yoga also. Pramana means the right knowledge. So the right knowledge is the means for our liberation. So how do we get right knowledge? Through Shastras and Guru. When the more we are able to abide in that right knowledge given by the Guru and Shastras, we will attain that realization. Viparya is wrong knowledge. It will take us into things. And then Smriti is sometimes also helpful because our memory, or not just our memory, it is the texts which have come from memory also are helpful. Like Gita, we call as Smriti Ganta, Bhagavad Gita. So Smriti, but the Smriti by itself will keep me limited and reminding me that I am so and so. That identity of me, my job, my family identity, all this comes from smriti. That's a vritti. Vritti means a thought. It keeps coming. Now, there is one more, of course, the nidra. Nidra is a deep sleep where there is just a thought of nothingness experienced. Now, there is this vikalpa. So, from the context of yoga and Vedanta, this vikalpa is not a useful means. Why? Because vikalpa is a thought construct. I am imagining something. So, like if I go see like a bird somewhere, and I might see some bird far off and I don't see that bird properly, but I will imagine the bird. Oh, this bird I saw is like this, it will have waves like this. And on a more extreme basis, vikalpa is also like sometimes our hallucinating thoughts. Like, the famous example of we see a snake on the rope. So why do we see that snake on the rope? Because that memory somewhere is there. And I'm imagining this snake, meaning it is a thought I'm creating, not consciously, unconsciously, on that rope. So that is a vikalpa has happened there. On a viparya also, but vikalpa has happened. Vikalpam again, is a thought construct. So it's something you are imagining, you are creating by your mind. Sometimes, like people, when they say that in communication, when you're talking, sometimes some people will say things, they say, no, I never said that, you are creating that. So that is all like vikalpa. So here now, vikalpa is used in an effective way. How is it used in an effective way? How can vikalpa be used in an effective way? So this is where, why I would like to discuss this text, because the one thing about it is the power of right contemplation, right thinking. So here it is called as Shuddha Vikalpa. Shuddha means pure. huh? A pure thought construct, meaning you are consciously creating a thought construct. In fact, I have mentioned to all of you about this Adhyaropa. I explained in this class. I keep bringing it because it's a very important Vedantic means. Adhyaropa is a conscious superimposition you are doing, right? You superimpose the aspect of a guru disciple. You superimpose the idea of a god, and so all this are, when it's done consciously, it is not harmful. When it is done unconsciously, like you're blindly believing in something, you are blindly accepting somebody because he is famous or somebody as your teacher. So those are all like blind beliefs. They are not helpful. But if you're consciously through your own reason have come to the thing and then you use it, that is a useful thing, useful vikalpa, shuddha vikalpa. Now, there is one more difference between a normal vikalpa and a shuddha vikalpa when it comes to our own contemplations. Now, what is this? Let us say, for example, I take this thing that I am the president of some India, America, or some country, and I keep affirming that. I say, okay, like nowadays, all these things are powerful, right? Like manifestation, like you can manifest whatever you want, that. So there, what you are you're trying to create something on your using your vikalpa, your imagination. You imagine this, you imagine that. But now if you keep imagining you're the president, you will never become the president. Right. At the most, how much ever you are, like, at some point in your house you may be president, but there also at some point your spouse will, or your children will bring you down to earth and tell you you're just this person. So that vikalpa is not going to, it is inconsistent with reality. Yeah. Some vikalpas are effective in the working reality. Like you can imagine, like, I'm confident person, like, these are psychological tools, right? I'm a confident person. I am like for people who are shy and they teach like that. So there, that can be useful in the vyavahara to help, bring some traits in you. But that is still again a kind of a transitional thing. It is in the transitional reality. It is not something you'll always have because it is not the permanent truth. Now here the vikalpa is that you're trying to identify with that ultimate truth and claim that my essence is the same as Lord Shiva. My essence is the same as Lord Shiva, is the ultimate reality. And that, in order to achieve that ultimate reality, you are imposing this thing which is not in your present realization. And so it is becoming a means of imagination for you. It is become necessary for you to imagine this because it is not in your present understanding. Ideally, of course, it has come through Shastras and Guru, and it is even more powerful. So here, this is what the means are. What it is does is that viparya we have created, meaning the wrong notion that I have created of who I am, that is being dissolved by this imagined truth at this point. But it is, and the ultimate thing, it is the one with the ultimate reality. So this becomes a shuddha vikalpa, meaning it becomes a pure imagined reality or a pure superimposition that you are doing. And more importantly, this is in harmony with the truth. The truth of one's own self is that of Shiva. Shivoham, Shivoham, which we say. This is a that famous Nirvana Shataka shlokas of Adi Shankaracharya. So he says that Mano Buddhyahankara Chittani Naham Nacha Shrotra Jigre Nacha Grana Netre Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. So in different ways he says, Na dharmo, na charto, na kamo, na moksha, na bandur, na gurur, na bandur. So I don't have any identifications. I don't. Aham nirvikalpo, nirakara rupo, vibhur vyapya sarvatra, sarvendriyanam. He says, I am nirvikalpa. I'm free from any vikalpa also. So now this point I want to talk. So we are using vikalpa to come to this point where aham nirvikalpa. My real nature is nirvikalpa, but I'm using vikalpa here. So how is it possible using vikalpa you get to nirvikalpa? Nirvikalpa means free from all these constructs. So this is the state, right? Like, see, there are nowadays practices which have taken up some essence of these. These are things which have come from all these schools and Buddhism, and many, modern teachers present this, where you focus on being in this moment, or you focus on just, stillness. And so these are things where you're trying to attain that nirvikalpa, where you can just rise out of that mental thing which is unconsciously going on all the time. So how do you then come to this nirvikalpa? When this vikalpa is a conscious thing you are doing repeatedly as a practice in an intelligent way, knowing that it will take you to that's ultimate reality, then it is not it will no longer stay as a vikalpa, it will get dissolved. That vikalpa, that thought will dissolve when it lands on that ultimate truth and it will become that free from that vikalpa will become nirvikalpa. So so in order to achieve this, there are some means and upayas. Upayas means steps are given. So what do these steps do? They are trying to work with what is called as dharanas. So the dharana, as we know, it is in the Yoga Sutras, the dharana is just a concentration. Here, dharanas are effective contemplations. And what you achieve from these dharanas are like a certain bhavanas. No? The bhavanas means some means of creative contemplations, like which involves you at the level of feeling also, at the level of mind feeling. Like those of you who came for the meditations, which we did. One of the meditations, we did was when you chant that Om or any mantra, and then you feel that silence, experience that silence. And in that silence, what happens? There is no speech happening, and then the mind comes to it doesn't have anything to hold on to. And there, what happens when the mind doesn't have anything to hold on to? It becomes this nirvikalpa. It is free from thought imaginations. Of course, it takes practice, and sometimes we get it right away also. We get a glimpse of that. So the bhavanas. So the bhavanas here are these creative things that bring us to also the state of, like, also you see that other practice we were doing, the one which is famous here, which many teachers have taught in different ways, the hamsa. The hamsa practice is also like that. When you come to that point of heart, so there is that bhavana where you are dissolving that self in that shakti. And when you exhale out and you dissolve into that Shiva, that consciousness, that pure thing. So there, what happens? You are transcending the mind. So now those of us who are familiar with studying, especially when we go through the study means of Vedanta and yoga, what we are doing, we are not dissolving the mind to this point right away. Because we say that a mind which goes into stillness without knowledge will remain ignorant. It may experience that stillness, but it will not have that wisdom. So you will have an experiential sense of stillness, but you will come out with that same vasanas. So a long samadhi is also like that, because there's no wisdom. So here what is happening is you have to have this wisdom even when you do these practices, that your nature is the nature of Shiva. So you're not, because you're stressed out or you're had a bad day, you can experience that peace for a second and feel good and feel that thing, but it will not last. It will not have that underlying tone of wisdom to hold you to that realization. So you'll need to again and again keep practicing, and as long as you're practicing, you will experience peace and you'll come back. So this is the thing that Vedanta and non-dualism paths want us to get out of by trying to give us the wisdom. So just few more minutes and then I will go into the few shlokas. So this is just the foundation I'm giving, so we can appreciate some of those shlokas. So the point here is that when we try to do these practices, we have to have some degree of wisdom to kind of a complete dissolution of all the mind constructs, and some which are focused more on some asana mudras and all that. Uh, some are focused more on how to transmute like all the joys of the world and see the essential joy in that, in that supreme reality as the source of all the joys. Okay, so this is just an introduction. Now for another 15-20 minutes, I will just okay, so this is just to give us a higher understanding of the real nature of Shiva and why we have to attain that state of Shiva, or that oneness with Shiva, and using this thing. So here it is called, of course, as Tantra, but Tantra generally refers to, like some of these practices. Sometimes even negative practices are called Tantra, like all the black magic and all that. But here Tantra is not like in that context. Yet it has this element of mysticism generally, Tantra generally. But here, then, in real context, for those of us who are already on the path of gaining knowledge and wisdom, this it will not have that kind of effect, or rather, we are not looking for that kind of effect. We are looking for abiding in that knowledge and how we can make that knowledge our realization. So rather than just having knowledge, which we are not able to realize when the hour of our need, when the body is going through challenges, when the mind is disturbed. So he does mention here, if the mind is too disturbed, then these practices also are very difficult to do. So we have to have our practices until we are able to have this one pointed focus on this. But the good thing is, if we have knowledge and practice, then we can abide in that faster. We don't have to wait for some higher mystical experience for that realization to happen. Because what is it that will free us from samsara? What is it that will free us from all the problems in the world? Is this wisdom, is this realization. So getting this realization, all the means are helpful. So here he talks about this upayas. Upayas are this means. And he says, for a person who has a very high qualification, he there is what is the pointer? How does he go? He says there is anupaya, meaning he doesn't need any like a gross thing. One thing is enough. So similarly here, if he realizes even one practice given of this, with that proper wisdom, can be an immediate realization. We also say this in the Dakshinamurti Stotra, we talk about this. There is a famous quote, the first, the invocation or praise of Dakshinamurti. It says, Maunam Vyakya Prakatita Parabrahma Tattva Yuvanam. Vasishtante Vasadrishit Ganei Avratam Brahmanishtai Acharyendram Karakalita Chinmudramananda Rupam Swatmanam Mudita Vadanam Dakshina Murti Mide. Maunam Vyakya. So in silence, just by his chin mudra, by showing that chin mudra, and in that silence, he is able to communicate that truth of that Brahman. So similarly here, one practice with when we have that knowledge, when we have that proper understanding, is enough uh, for that realization. Okay, so this is just an introduction, and in fact, those of you who wish to join some of those contemplations, you can sometime go back again to this introduction and listen to it. Then it will be easier to uh, partake of some of the contemplations which we will do. We won't do all 112 because many of them are like overlaps, and sometimes like he gives 4 or 5 shlokas for mainly one practice also. But we will try some in the following weeks. Any brief questions we can do, and then I would like to end with a few minutes of japa for Shivratri. Anybody would like to ask anything related to this text? Yes, Sahaja.
Swamiji, in this text are Bhairava and Bhairavi substitute words for Shiva Shakti?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
Bhairava is that Shiva. Bhairavi is for Shakti. Huh? So, and it is that form of Shakti which liberates, which takes us to liberation, which becomes the means for liberation. Are you to get that? Throughout the night, as much as possible, or throughout your day, and as much as possible, stay in that presence. So once we have the knowledge of that Shiva Tattva, then the form and the mantra are useful means to connect to that. So we are no longer just chanting or doing a ritual in ignorance. We are doing it with wisdom. It leads us to realization. So a couple of more times and then we will end it here. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Om Namo Bhagavate